Hey guys, I hope everyone is doing well. This is my first diverse perspectives presentation, and I chose to do it on response to intervention in writing because it's something that we covered a little bit in this class during Module 2, and response to intervention is something that I've learned about in my other classes, but I haven't learned about it specifically to writing, and it's something that I wanted to know more about. So without further ado, let me get my PowerPoint pulled up. Okay, so response to intervention in writing. First of all, I'm going to talk about what it is. Then I'm going to talk about proof that it works. I'm going to show a video. I'm going to give some interventions that you can use at each tier, and then ways to evaluate the interventions that you choose to use with your students. First of all, what is response to intervention? This is an intervention model designed to scaffold student learning based on the individual needs of each child. There isn't a universal design for how you should do RTI. However, every model that is around includes a 3-tiered system, which ranges from your general education in the classroom, then it goes up to where you might be pulling a student out for certain things, and then completely one-on-one instruction for everything that student is learning. It is all data-based, so you do use progress monitoring. It has been proven to be beneficial in all academic areas, and there are a lot of great models out there to follow for everything except for writing, which is a little more underdeveloped because the modern assessment methods for writing that we used don't fulfill all of the needs for the RTI system, and most of the federal funding that supports RTI and its research were designated to writing. To reading. So this is just a screenshot from the article that we read on RTI, and it has a model of the 3-tiered system. So the first tier is your general ed instruction. Everyone's going to take a universal screening test to see where they should be in this pyramid. Then your secondary tier, you have your small group intervention or your occasional pulling out of the student. They're going to be monitored more often. And one thing that you can use for the writing response intervention system is the CBMs, which I've been doing with my practicum student, and I think they've been really fun and interesting. And then finally, the 3rd tier. And again, you're doing a lot more of that progress monitoring so that you can do the personalized instruction for what that student needs. Oops, give me just one second. Okay, here we go. So for the proof that it works, I found this really interesting video on YouTube, and it's not specifically about writing, it's just about how this school uses RTI for all of their subjects, and it works really well for them, so I just wanted to share it with you guys. Let me see if I can get it to play.
It's not an S, it sounds like it. What does it sound like? There you go.
The way we deliver RTI has everything to do with the end results that we've seen for student achievement. Today, there is a small discrepancy between our highest achieving students and our lowest achieving students.
Our overall vision and mission would be for every child to experience success at their level, whatever that level may be. RTI is response to intervention. It's making sure that every child receives the support that he or she needs at any given time. And that might change weekly.
It's a team atmosphere. And over these past years with the RTI, the walls have come down. We're all in it together.
I could take some of your kids to read just for the read naturally part if your groups are too big.
Through the years, we moved from being segmented individual classrooms to what you see today. Everything is done by the grade level team.
Yes.
When we first started moving students about in the building, some parents had a few questions. You mean my child won't be in one classroom all day? No, we're going to try to provide more targeted instruction, working with them in small groups.
The rest of my friends are going to join me, grab a stool and a pencil. Take a look at the first problem.
The differences between the tiers, Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 is Tier 1 is the general population, universal instruction.
The snowman's nose is a carrot.
The snowman's nose is a carrot.
Tier 2 is when a student is not seeing their potential. They are receiving a small group in addition to the Tier 1. So outside of my classroom or with me at a different time of the day.
They're always in a small group, usually no bigger than 6, with a teacher, with a paraprofessional,
Using an intervention, using the technology.
Ooh, this one looks cool.
Tier 3 is even further intervention. I pull them a separate time during the day to give them an extra push of instruction.
that is with groups from 1, 2, maybe 3. And they get that about 3 to 4 times a week.
Are buried
Very good.
deep inside the earth.
Instead of having to have one teacher the whole time, then I get to go to different teachers and experience like new classrooms. It was kind of hard to learn my schedule in the first week, but in the second week I got it down.
Okay, if you are one of Mrs. Rickerman's friends, you need to grab your Chromes, head on out to guided math.
The students are very proud of what they do. They feel empowered to move from teacher to teacher. They feel in charge of their day.
My oldest child struggles in reading, so he goes with a group of students that are like himself. So he's not stuck in one classroom that has 22 kids with different levels. So I think he's going to get some individual attention in those areas, and he doesn't have to feel like he's out of place because he's not at the top.
You know, if you see a child who is completely lost in a general ed classroom all day long, that wears on a kid, emotionally, socially, and academically, obviously. And with the RTI program, they're receiving support that's planned for them.
The small group, I think, is helping because he feels confident. He feels confident.
Yeah.
Right. Less threatening, too.
It is less
The big
threatening.
class is lost.
All right, so if you look at our sheets that we have that show where they're at, is there anybody that we need to adjust?
We do have to meet a lot, grade level wise. We have to share a lot of information. Sitting down and talking about our students that we are concerned about. They're Tier 2, they're Tier 3. What can we do? Because ultimately that is our goal, is to get them back on Tier 1.
You know, every 3 weeks or so, we might have a group of changes.
My age says I'm 10, and I'm thinking we might want to bump them to Tier 3.
Okay. Our data is consistently showing that they're making progress.
The other person
So that sheet's also
in your
too.
room, Rachel, is JC.
He is reading like crazy. Yes.
Right before Christmas break, maybe moving him back to Tier 1 and see what he can do. That's awesome.
Over the years, our special education numbers have greatly diminished due to our RTI. Today, we only have about 4% of our student population that receives special education services.
You know, at the end of the year, our students really make gains when looking at reading tests.
This type of programming works.
Okay, so I just thought that was really cool because, like the video said, it's greatly reduced the amount of kids that need special education services, which is amazing. Like, those kids are in the general education classrooms, which is exactly what we want for our kids. And so I thought it was really neat how, based on the tiers, they like move the kids around, because that will keep them engaged. It's like exciting for them to be going to different places, and they're getting that individualized instruction that they need. Next, I don't want to play it again.
It's not an S, it sounds like it. What is
Okay, for my next source, I actually found a model for the response to intervention system in writing that is used by the Madison Metropolitan School District. And I just wanted to go over some of the intervention strategies that they use for each tier, because I thought that they were really good, and they were things that we could implement in our classes even if we're not doing the response to intervention system. So for Tier 1, they model the targeted skills that they're wanting to teach their kids. They provide a lot of opportunities for writing, specifically like free writing on things that students are interested in to keep them engaged. They have clear writing goals that are not set by the teachers, they're set by the students. So they decide like what they want or need to know, and they work hard to reach those goals. you optimize peer collaboration, and the document said that it's best whenever you have two students that are on different levels working together because they can get something from the other kid, Provide frequent and specific feedback to the kids so they know what they need to improve upon, and then give them plenty of opportunities to revise their work. For Tier 2 and Tier 3, they use the sentence combining model a lot, which is something that we learned about and that I've actually used in my practicum, and I really like it. They also use the self-regulated strategy, which we've covered. It can include a lot of things, including goal setting, monitoring, self-assessment, and other things. In their model, they teach it in 6 stages. So first, they introduce what they want the student to learn. Then they bring in any background knowledge that they have that's going to be relevant and help the student to fully understand the concept. They explain like a step-by-step way to use and implement the strategy. The teacher then models it. Then they work with the student to have it memorized so that it's something they can just like have in the back of their brain anytime they need to use it. And then you practice. You do both guided and then independent practice. So you would start with that guided, then you would slowly like give more of the responsibility to the student until they were doing it on their own. And then another intervention that they have, which I thought was really cool, is something called interactive writing. And this is an intervention that you again use in Tier 2 or 3. It puts emphasis on the communication part of writing. And to do this, for the first draft of the writing, they would encourage students to use temporary spelling. So it doesn't necessarily have to be correct. This allows the student to focus more on expressing themselves and like getting out what they want to say instead of being grammatically correct, because that's something they can like get caught up in and they can trip over it. And then after they create that first draft, the student and the teacher sit down together and they work out those technicalities and they fix the spelling. So I thought that was really interesting because, again, it really allows the kid to focus on the communication aspect of writing. Then for my third source that I found an article that tells you how to evaluate the intervention strategies that you're using because, again, like I said, there isn't a specific model that's like universal for everyone to use in RTI. So if this is something you decide to do, you might want to create some of your own interventions or just like interventions in general, even if you're not using RTI. So this is a way to make sure that those are like effective and good to use in your classroom. Number 1, does it work? So like if you think that you just have this great strategy but it doesn't seem to land, you might want to use the 3 times method, which means you try it 3 times. If you don't have successes in those 3, you might want to edit it, alter it, or just fix it a little bit. So number 2, will it have negative consequences in the end? So for this one, you're reflecting on how you're doing things, not so much what you're doing. For example, like if you feel like the best way to tell a kid that they're making an error in their writing is to like air out their dirty laundry and tell the whole class, it's going to have really negative consequences on their self-esteem in writing specifically, and then they're not really going to want to write. So you have to have like a positive approach to how you're doing things. Number 3, is this affecting how my students are motivated? Like is it making them more engaged and more passionate about writing or less passionate? Because if it's making writing seem more like a chore to them or something they don't want to do, you might want to evaluate that because that's the last thing that we want. Number 4, is it time effective? Is this a strategy that you're going to have to like work on for weeks and weeks and weeks and see minimal, is it something you're going to have to work on for like weeks and not see a lot of progress, or is it something that like the students can quickly pick up on and work towards independently so that you can focus your time on other students as well? And then 5, are you moving forwards or just backwards? So you have to make your strategies not only based on what the students are doing like in the now or what they like recently did wrong, but you also have to make them something that they can work forward with and progress upon. So like what are they going to do after this? And those are my references. So yeah, that's it. Let me see if I can put myself. I don't even know if I've been in the whole video or not. So in conclusion, I think that RTI is like a really great system, and I feel like I've learned a lot about it, and I hope I could share some really cool things with you guys too.